Hi, everyone. Good morning to you. Today, we are on the last day of the Rice Pico World Summit, and I would like to welcome Mr. Joseph Scaria here for our session today. So, Mr. Scaria, he's been a freelance management consultant and a fundraiser, and formerly he's worked with Habitat for Humanity and was leading the Asia Pacific operations. Prior to that, he was associated with UNICEF, and prior to that, he worked 7 years in the business sector with leading corporates like the Birlas, the Tatas, and some European companies. So, we would like to take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Joseph Scaria for his very intriguing session on From Kitchen Chatter to Boardroom Matter, where he would take us through the evolution of CSR fundraising. Uh, from the lens of leading women who actually initiated this process. So we look forward to this session and all the best, Mr. Scaria.
Thank you, Dridima, and thanks a lot to the Rice Pico team to coordinate and bring out such a fantastic online global workshop where so many uh, thematic approaches on CSR, ESG, entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, everything is being discussed out here, and I'm honored to be part of this, and thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. And thanks to all the attendees who are already there, as well as who would be joining. Welcome. And I just take this particular session in terms of what we call the kitchen chatter to boardroom matter. I just called it because I just thought I will give you a bit of an evolutionary approach, how the traditional charity and charitable giving has evolved. When I call it the kitchen chatter, to my experience, I was working with the corporate sector in sales and marketing. From there, I just got the interest in terms of working on the development sector. So when I've seen that initially in the 70s, 80s, and towards even the 90s, always before the CSR has come up in a professional manner, philanthropy was always rooted in traditional sort of religious practices, as well as community welfare schemes in different parts of the world, whether it is China, India, or Greek, Egyptian, any kind of a civilizations. So the later half of the 20th century and towards the end of the 20th century, it has been evolving into a CSR practice dramatically over centuries, and then transition from that personal charity to structured corporate responsibility. If you really look at the ancient traditions, well, we have all been exposed, whether you are in India or in Islamic countries or Christian countries, we have the Hindu dana, dharma and dana, and the Islamic zakat, or the Christian tithing, which are emphasizing more on societal welfare, which was laying the foundation for modern giving. Come industrial revolution, so many wealthy individuals. To give an example, in India itself, Tatas are the pioneers for that. Sardar Tata, through that industrial revolution time, he is the one who pioneered the institutionalization of philanthropy in our country, investing in universities, which is education, as well as healthcare systems, then so many other public welfare programs. If we look at the other parts of the world, the names like Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller, the Ford Foundation, etc., comes to our minds out. And if we can look at the transformation, it has gained momentum in the 20th century. with the rise of the corporate social responsibility, which was enabling the businesses to allocate resources for social impact. And just coming to India right away, actually, we are the one who have led across the world, and we should be proud about that with our milestone, innovative way of asking, giving, being mandated through the CSR, or rather the 2% CSR giving in India. So India, I must say, should be proud about making it mandatory. That does not mean that it was not existing anywhere in the world. Well, prior to that, as a voluntary effort, to my knowledge, because I also did some specialized study when I was doing my management program on development management, I come across this initiative in Venezuela. They call it the Dividendo Voluntario para la Comunidad, that is Spanish, but then it means 1% profit after tax for any kind of a social programs. The second one I came across was the PBSP, that was in the Philippines, where I did my MBA from there. That is the Philippine Business for Social Progress. That was a sort of inspired by the Venezuelan model. So that is also there. If you look at the United States, the very best example was the United Way. The United Way is now globally present, and they are the one who are representing the interest of the corporations across the world in terms of giving. Of course, there are other initiatives in UK and Europe which focuses on giving as well as investing in social enterprises, etc. Also, there were critics from the business sector. The famous person is Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman, while the CSR giving aspects was emerging into society, he's the one who sort of opposed it, saying that the business of business is business. So that was his way of, talking about the shareholder theory. But it was at the time of Michael Porter who sort of helped or redefined corporate responsibility by aligning societal needs with business strategies. And that a lot of other companies, Tata's from among our Indian sector leading it globally. If you look at Unilever is a great example. Unilever actually become more stronger in the ESG and the CSR space, which I'll be talking a little bit later, by the acquisition of Ben & Jerry. Ben & Jerry is another exemplary example of giving to the society through their products. Their products were the pioneer brand ambassadors to be penetrating to the minds of the people and propagating the environmental protection aspects out there. We'll just get into that a little later. Companies like Nestle, yeah, and there are other very activist-driven companies, which one of them is Patagonia. We'll talk about them also because they use their apparels as an activist methodology to be promoting environmental protection. Another great example from India itself is from the cooperative movement is India's Amul. So everyone knows about Amul and that iconic advertisements of Amul also, which touches our life every day. That came from the women empowerment model of bringing together all the women and milk being purchased and distributed, and now Amul is a billion-dollar company. Yes, there are many more. I'm only just raising or throwing some names out here, and that shows how the social impact can help drive business and business to success. Then from there, the CSR. Michael Porter, who redefined the CSR, also has added more value in terms of making the CSR, which is a shareholder driven approach, to a stakeholder driven approach. The stakeholder driven approach is where it has emerged basically the formation of the UN Global Compact by the Ghanaian United Nations, I forgot his name. Anyway, the UN Global Compact came, it was in 2004. The ESG principles have found ways through the UN into the corporate rules. So that's what I'm calling, if you, in a nutshell or in an abstract, if I can talk about from the kitchen chatter to the boardroom. Why I say the kitchen chatter, when CSR or giving was in the 70s or 80s, was something which has been given to the CEO's wife. The CEO's wife of a corporation has always been focusing on doing good, and she will go around and do that kind of community development work, maybe interacting with the Rotaries or Lions, that's kind of a service organization, or by herself, by her own initiative and her own passion and interest, she used to drive. So that is the kitchen chat. So we have come a long way from there, from that arena of charity or philanthropic giving. Now, there's a coined word given by none other than Rohini Nilekani of Infosys. She has coined this word known as philanthropo-capitalism. So it's getting, why I'm telling about the boardroom matter, it's getting more and more, investment-driven approaches are coming. It is becoming more professional, and people are seeing that how well this journey of contributing to the SDG approaches. SDG, as you guys know about it, is the Sustainable Development Goals. That is also being supported by another movement known as the Triple Bottom Line movement. The Triple Bottom Line talks about people, planet, and profit. So these are the 3P, because people are involved, planet is where we live, and we are taking the resources from the planet, and of course we make profit out of it. How all these three can go together in a symphony is what the Triple Bottom Line approach. Based on that, there are a lot of other approaches which is emerging. Is also, and also I would love to advocate for, that emerging is management of this development theory, or development approaches, or development strategies. So that is a tri-sector management, they call it. Tri-sector management is that how well the public sector or the government can work together with the private sector and engage the specialized, the third sector. The third sector stands for the NGO sector or the non-profit sector. So how well all the three can work together. And even there are courses which is being driven on as tri-sector management, which is emerging in different parts of the world. Also talking about MBA in sustainability, which is also talking about how well this could be, these approaches of making national development or global development part and parcel of every human being with respect to the planet, which is the environment. So from that is where the ESG, the principles marking now a new era of embedding the sustainability and accountability into the corporate DNA. So that's a great way and great road we have really tread and come over here. So, and also this journey reflects the shift from Milton Friedman's, the business of business is business approach to the shareholder and the stakeholder driven approach, which has been promulgated by none other than Michael Porter through his competitive advantage strategy. So, well, we also have to add today. I would be giving more. It's not my own theory, but it's already been happening. The role of the fourth estate, what we call the news, the media, the fourth estate. They call the media. The media acts up in several ways in terms of being the watchdog, plus amplifying the good practices, the best practices, as well as in terms of the good practices being promoted from one geography to another geography, because now we are living in a global village with the speed with which actions are happening and how the knowledge being transferred. So that's a great opportunity for learning from different case examples or good practices with the support of the shared value and the ESG being promoted, and how well what good is happening in Argentina to Japan, or from Canada to New Zealand. So the entire diagonal kind of an approach would be extremely good to create, and when we can view that kind of a balancing of profit with a purpose. And that will definitely help us to create that kind of a just and when we're talking about development, we talk about one particular word is the inclusiveness or the inclusivity of that. So when we create a just or a inclusive towards a sustainable world. Well, that's some sort of an introduction what I wanted to give today. And from there we can get into a detailed chat. I will keep on chatting while I would be very happy if I will give a post out here, and if anyone would love to have a specific question based on this first 10 to 15 minutes of chat which I had here, or presentation or introduction I've given here. If there is any questions, I would wait for to hear that. You can type it out there. I would be able to answer that. Otherwise, I'll just post for 5 to 6 seconds out here, just waiting for anyone to chat, or else I will just proceed. So I'm just going to count my time backwards. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. I understand there's not much questions on that. Probably I will now take you through I've just given an overall introduction of that. So, which I covered on the historical evolution of philanthropy and corporate responsibility. And traditionally, as I told, just to be repeating, and Hindu dana, Islamic zakat, and Christian tithing, etc. But just giving some examples of how traditionally our philanthropy was rooted in religion and culture, and which emphasized on individual giving or societal or social welfare. Then came, as a recap, the Industrial Revolution. I talked about the Tatas, the Rockefellers, etc. out there. Then comes the corporate philanthropy, that's say about by mid 20th century, where companies started formal CSR initiatives, which was voluntary, and even now it is voluntary in several parts of the world. The pioneering one was the India's Tata's contribution. And even without the invention of the CSR, way back in 1897, Dorabji Tata started that, addressing education, community development, health, rural upliftment, everything. So which has been happening in different parts of the world also. I touched upon some of those companies' names out there. Then I caught up on the ESG that is the environmental, social, and governance principles, which as a repeat, integrated the environmental, social, and governance considerations into business strategies. So it is just ESG is coming up as one of the and the opportunities for companies to use ESG as a competitive advantage, which is very good. When we talk about environmental aspects, it's more in present day terms. It is on carbon footprints, the climate change, which brings through the climate change, adaptation projects, conserving biodiversity and achieving net zero emissions, which even as you all know, there are a lot of organizations, and the biggest and the most important one is the COP, which is started through the Kyoto protocols and things like that. So now it's just sort of leading the conference of parties. That's a COP. So it's just like driving different nations. Conference of parties. Parties is none other than nations. They are trying to bring in that kind of a net zero. Well, recently, you know that Mr. Trump has signed off. And, he did not sign for that from the Paris Agreement out there. So these are the kind of challenges which is coming up. When you talk about the social, that's basically within the company or within the community. We're talking about addressing inequality, improving labor conditions, and promoting community well-being. That becomes as I told it, from a shareholder perspective, now this has become a stakeholder perspective. When you say the stakeholder, means even a company's the nearby community or anyone, supply chain, anyone becomes a stakeholder out there. Then in the ESG also, the governance is the ensuring ethical leadership, transparency, and accountability. I just gave some names. Unilever, their plan is known as the Sustainable Living Plan. It integrates ESG into core operations, focusing on its healthcare, hygiene, and sustainability. I'll be talking about Unilever's approaches a little bit late. Patagonia is a leader in environmental responsibility. I love that because they are the first company which has used activism, a company using activism. Activism, we only heard about the NGO or the non-profit sector. So it's a leader in environmental responsibility, and it donates 1% of its profits to environmental causes. So does Ben & Jerry. Ben & Jerry used to give around 30% of their profit after tax for environmental protection. So much so that, as you guys know about, Ben & Jerry has been later on acquired by Unilever, and Unilever's Sustainable Living Plan, and also most of it has been sort of accelerated, or the acceleration plan has been given by the acquisition of Ben & Jerry, and so much of Ben & Jerry's DNA has gone into the Unilever DNA by that particular acquisitions. Then come the modern day, practices with the interventions of in the development sector itself. Obviously, with the Millennium Development Goals, which has started in 2000 by the United Nations, and that has had a particular agenda for the next 15 years. And of course, with that 15 years evaluation has brought that this will be continuing with a 15-year kind of a program. That's why the present day SDG has come into force. With 70s onwards, this is also creating more of a professionalism into the developmental agenda, development projects, etc. And thanks to Bill Drayton, well, it was existing earlier, but then Bill Drayton made it more promoted. He promoted it known as a social entrepreneurship through his company known as the Ashoka Innovation for Public. They are the kind of people who have been inspiring change makers. So does it comes social entrepreneurship, and then also the aspects of social venture and social venture capitalism, a lot of initiatives, which was all driven for driving impact. So, and impact at scale in business, which we call it the economies of scale. So that matters in business, and that itself has been coming into the social sector, impact at scale, because that is where this also giving that opportunity for marriages or joint ventures or partnerships between bigger corporations associating with bigger NGOs, which has got high transparency and visibility and accountability. So for the social venture, the blend for profit models with social missions, focusing on measurable social impact. And in the communities, the roles of that empower, and these companies have been looking into empowering underserved populations through jobs and skills training. That is even has taken note by governments, like even in India, the skills training or the skilling they call it is now the government itself has formed the National Skill Development Corporation, the NSDC, or the National Skill Development Authority. I don't know whether it is NSDC or NSD, whatever it's like. That shows that the commitment of the government to create such opportunities. That's a sort of a leadership in tri-sector management. The government is providing such opportunities for NGOs to be approaching the government, whether it is through the NSDC or whether it is through the KV, the Khadi and Related Industries, KV. A lot of skilling aspects, investments are coming from the government, and now that could be leveraged. An NGO could leverage it with other corporate sectors. And, it also provides the opportunity for the corporations to address systemic issues like the healthcare access, education, inequality, and climate adaptation and stuff like that. And also the beauty is that social impact driven approaches is also giving extremely enterprising development workers or business leaders who can look into take a profit making approach through social enterprise, innovative ways, and brings in a lot of professionalism and impact driven approaches into that sector. So we can see that the business sector is also coming closer to the social impact sector, and see that the impact really reaches out, and it make it inclusive, and we can see that kind of a growth and development happening in countries. Some examples, even the world famous Grameen Bank, as the microfinance institution, providing loans to empower women entrepreneurs in rural Bangladesh. I happen to be associated or working with them for almost 2 weeks as an intern when I was studying on development. They have also come out with a project known as Project Suriji. It's just like McDonald's. Project Suriji is providing very tasty Bengali foods, and these particular Suriji restaurants are managed by women entrepreneurs, and Grameen Bank extends the support to them. I've already told you about opportunities. In Indian examples of Amul itself, which from a cooperative, it has revolutionized rural livelihoods through the dairy farming. And it created its own self-sustaining model and it's an exemplary example of how these are all bigger examples out there. Also, how does it get into the boardroom, and how the boardroom earlier, which was being given to the HR people or the later on CSR, or prior to that, it is the CEO's wife, as I told humorously I put it, but then it is now emerging. The synergy is sort of emerging these days, which is more in terms of the emerging philanthropy and ESG, the CSR, and creating social ventures. Certain companies are also outsourcing their ancillary work, whether it's in the auto industry or in the shoe manufacturing, like Bata or Mahindras, are giving their ancillary businesses to other NGOs so that we can start as social ventures. And the NGOs, for NGOs, it would be a fundraising initiative. Earlier, there was another company known as Corona Sahu. They also used to that. When I was working in Calcutta, I've seen them giving these, micro enterprises where Bata gives the design and the material, and then they get the product being driven back to the finished product, driven back to the R&D or the certification department of not the R&D, the one who certifies that, the quality check department checks the quality, and the Bata shoes, which we wear, normally would be made in a place known as Baj in Calcutta, where a lot of slum women are the one who have been trained on how to make Bata chappals and Bata shoes, etc. So these are all some of those examples in terms of that synergy building. So there's sort of a holistic collaboration which comes out there, which provides foundational support to grassroots initiative, just like the data model I told, then ensures accountability, and it aligns with the business practices, and which adds to the global sustainability goals. And that that social ventures which has been formed out there, which drives innovation, and it can scale solutions to societal problems through that prosperity kind of approach. One of my friend has told this triple bottom line, which I told you earlier in my when I started. I told you the triple bottom line is talking about people, planet, and profit. Some innovative people did not like the word profit, so they called the profit into prosperity. Okay, so now it stands for people, planet, and prosperity. Well, prosperity cannot happen without profit. So that is a very subtle way and very innovative way of talking about the trisector or the triple bottom line approach. When I talk about the quad approach also, the quad is so important. The quad approach means, for me, it is the public, the private, the civil society, and the media. The media plays an extremely important role in terms of amplifying success stories, and also they could act as the watchdog of transparency and accountability. So that's so important while we are trying to do. If there is no watchdog, not just to harass people or stand against them, but then the moment itself that the watchdog kind of an approach is already there, then the monitoring, the evaluation, the accountability, and that way they call it a meal approach: monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. So that brings in, that's the pivotal role of media in terms of this journey of joining hands in terms of building up sustainable communities. So in a sustainable world, the building the systems, that's the resilience that can adapt to environmental and economic and social challenges is so important. That's one of the key principles when we look into how well all the squad or the tri-sector approach can go. And also, in sustainable community, we always talk about equity and equality. So this approach will also bring in that kind of a winning or inclusive solutions out there, which ensures fair access to resources and opportunities for the players to be in the field. And of course, in the Sustainable Development Goals, when we are talking about all the 17 SDG goals, all the squad approach can encourage collaboration across sectors to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. So even if you look at the challenges, it's not that everything is that hunky-dory. The challenges are there. So that's why this watchdog, the quad approach, where the media plays the important role out there. We could look into the greenwashing. There's a lot of superficial ESG commitments without real impact. So that also need to be looked into. So the media plays an important role in terms of bringing up the measurement as well as comparing ESG and social impact metrics in a way so that the community is aware, the governments are aware, or anyone who does who are watchdogs of that is aware of that. Nevertheless, whatever the challenges out there in present world, the opportunities are that the growth could be multiplied several times with the present day AI generated, or what we call the generative AI, which is coming out there, and the Internet of Things. And some people talk about the blockchain, but I do not know much about that. I still have to learn about that. But I could see the technology can really advance a lot of our own development out there. Very good practices, just like which I told about, the PBSP or the Venezuelan model, the Indian 2% CSR model, the United Way model, the 1% CEO giving from UK. All these are also being enhanced by other models where none other than Bill Gates and Warren Buffett came together and started this brilliant program known as the Giving Pledge. That's why they're not monitoring it, but they're just inspiring philanthropic leaders, business leaders, billionaires and millionaires to come together and pledge 1% of their profit for planet, for creative and development practices. So whether it is environment or anything, or fostering collaborative opportunities for business and philanthropy together. A lot of organizations, consultants, institutes who are also promoting in this sector through education, development education, formal institutes, informal institutes, organizations, they are also looking into that. So this is how the boardroom aspects which I am talking about. So in terms of the ESG and stakeholders era, which I told about, the transition from Milton Friedman's theory of the business is business to the shareholder value. I think I've given you an overview about that, and also the quad view is so important out there. Now, what is important is coming across the world with this Internet of Things age, or the AI, generative AI age. At the flick on a jiffy, we can interact and we can learn a lot of things, what is good, which is happening in Argentina or in Japan or in India or Australia or Canada or US or everywhere. We can learn from everyone out there, and we can also find from the failures. We can learn from the failures and the challenges in sustainability and giving. So I could also see in the present day, earlier there were a lot of sociologists, psychologists, social workers, all those people who have been giving more time into that. But with the advent of ESG and other technological support, which the social sector is gaining, I could see a lot of jugaad, the Indian jugaad innovations or impacts are coming. That is also coming through even from the financial sector, coming through, where lots of business graduates and people are coming into this social impact. Social impact is now become a byword, and a lot of people are contributing to that. So this is open. It's just like an open house, the Wikipedia or the open house kind of approach, and that evolution of philanthropy is also now becoming, as I told in the past about the ESG itself, is being now considered as a competitive advantage. And the CSR and ESG strategies are used for scalable, measurable, and impactful giving. Earlier, the corporations were just giving money, and they only wanted to see the output, what output has been given. Then from the output, the second word was, what is the outcome of it like? So now we have to be driving our approach when we try to raise funds in these from the corporate sector, output driven, now later on outcome driven. Now we're talking about impact driven, impactful giving. So that provides a lot of opportunity to give it to an NGO or support the NGO to drive enterprises within that NGO or enterprises existing in a corporation, and then we can join hands, or even the startups in the social sector is also now emerging with this impact driven. And also the stakeholders are also they're getting a voice in terms of the giving through CSR or ESG. So the stakeholders and the shareholders also has started contributing to the thought waves of that, which is actually a very good development. And in my view, when I also talked about the quad, how it could be effective, because of course it was existing, but I'm only adding how it is important. The public, private, the civil society, and the media's role out there in a more positive way. It encourages collaboration than competition. So that is also one. Earlier there was time when I used to work with the media, used to promote any good things very lavishly. Then later on, they were only talking about, they have not been promoting that the NGOs has been doing out there. But now it has come to the practice of the corporations and the NGOs coming together. But I must say that, the media should be sort of encouraged to promote such good practices. Then only other people will learn about that and go forward. I will have a pause here. I think that's my second phase of talking about that. And if there are questions which you want to type here and ask anything for any questions out there, I would encourage for the next 5-7 minutes for the first question. And if there are further questions, I know that there will be a little bit of a lag in terms of your questions. So I will start again counting my 7 or 8 seconds. And if I'm getting any questions, I will be very happy to answer.
Joseph, there are some comments and questions in the chat, on general chat. Can you have a look?
Okay. It's in the live chat.
Yes.
Loy Rego. Wait a minute. Dhriman, hey everyone, please ask your questions. Okay, Dhriman. Okay, Naresh. In your opinion, how effective has the mandatory CSR requirement through the Companies Act 2013 been, considering that in 2020 the government was on the verge of introducing jail terms for non-compliance on the part of corporates the pandemic. Yeah, thank you, Naresh. Come to their rescue. What do you think can be done for the strategy to deliver the way it was envisaged? Okay, I think I've already seen Loy Reco responding that persuasion and encouragement should be the approach. I think he has given an answer already there. James terms for non-compliance will not work. I'm in agreement with what Loy said, because that is again, if we are bringing a sort of a uh, we are going back to compliance driven, and that greenwashing opportunities would be there. Jugaad approaches would be there in terms of what do you call circumventing that. Okay, persuasion was used for 7 years. Okay, yeah, definitely Naresh and Loy, it's a debatable one. I know, I mean, whether that will work in India. Uh, but this is, we call the largest democracy in the world, and that's what that lagging even in our approaches by compulsion or by jail terms or things like that. Personally, I won't go for that, but it's a debatable one. I cannot give an answer to that. Let us debate on that. Yes. Corporates, Asmita Jayendra, corporates and corporate foundations want scale. Who will fund pilots? Thank you. Very good question, Asmita. Who will fund pilots? That's where I would also take on the fundraising needs and how to approach corporations in terms of fundraising. So that also leads to that. Your question leads to that area also. So maybe I can answer it right away. Who will fund the pilots? There are also opportunities coming with corporations when you do with a particular impact model showing about that. The new generation NGOs are coming forward with that. There are corporations who are considering pilot funding also. So it is how you approach, how you design your model, and definitely it might not be that you won't get a funding from a cold call or a cold relationship. You might also have to be doing that kind of a networking and kind of get the referrals through some of your board members, or through the board members you should be approaching and researching about the corporations. And there are opportunities where corporations have funded the pilots also. Then there are other international funding, or Acumen Fund is one, Synergios is one. So there are other institutions and organizations which also takes such innovative ideas through a startup way and consider funding, Asmita. Okay, then again, coming back to Naresh, persuasion used for 7 years, I think I'm repeating that. Lakshman Kumar. Thank you, Lakshman. How could the startup ecosystem manage this, considering that they are always in the scalability mode with the focus on the bottom line profitability? Thank you, Lakshman. The startup ecosystem in the social impact sector is slowly catching up, and that is where I know, Lakshman, say, you are in the investment banking space, so we need to get those skill sets, those people from the finance sector, from the marketing sector, from the development sector, working together in terms of creating meal driven. Meal stands for monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. That also looks from the perspective of who is driving that, and the due diligence is so important out there. So that matters, or whom you are partnering with, what kind of an NGO, even if it is a startup. Well, we can talk about another vertical or another innovative way of reaching out to some sort of funders out there. So from that perspective, that startup ecosystem management would also be looked into. And in India, we can do that by starting a non-profit company where the profitability matters. And of course, there are certain regulations in the country in terms of taxes are also being charged. But these are all areas where we need to be looking, because I'm not an expert in answering that, but then the profitability aspects in social enterprises are coming, but sometimes with a social mission like Ben and Jerry or certain microfinance institutions. These are all companies with a social mission. So we need to be, to my knowledge, the profitability comes in a social enterprise out there, but then the promoters cannot enjoy that as a shareholder privilege or a dividend. But that money has to be re-rolled into the development purposes and the objectives which the company has what do you call written, or the company is standing out for. I think those are the comments which are out there. Now I can see a thumbs up from Naresh. And anything else? Lakshman, thanks for the insights and the way forward. Thank you. And again, Lakshman, thank you. That is also people from the banking sector. Thanks, you are one among them. Can come forward. There is something which people who are here, like I can see Loy there, Naresh there, who can really take it up. Also, there is in this sector, there is something known as advocacy. So these are all matters which needs that advocacy or a lobbying kind of a movement with the government sector. Now that Indian CSR and the ESG is emerging very well, I've just read day before yesterday, I've been just Googling and finding out how much money is being unleashed to this particular sector. In the beginning, from the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs data, they were saying $2.5 billion. But day before yesterday, I read somewhere that it is emerging to be $10 billion. I do not know whether the data is correct or not. But anyway, it is growing, because any company which is making profit, PAT of $1 million US are supposed to be coming under the radar of this giving, the mandatory 2% CSR giving. And again, just to be adding on that, there's a lot of opportunities where extremely professional people from the business side, from the technology and engineering, sociology, all these particular sides can come together. That is also one point which I am talking today, the quad approach, the public, private, the people, the civil society, as well as the watchdog, which is the media. But if they come together, some of these, because I was part and parcel of running a 7-year campaign with UNICEF in terms of getting the street and working children accepted as a welfare grants to be given to those organizations. So it took 7 years of advocacy to make that happen. Like what you are recommending, and again, the jail aspects which Naresh was talking about, all these things also give us an opportunity to be advocating to the government in terms of making it more of a cleaner and one window, or all these kind of things which normally happens in the government sector or even the private sector. This sector also needs high profile professionals who are passionate in terms of approaching the government and making it happen. And that will not happen unless and until certain kind of an advocacy aspects are being taken care of seriously by the professional development people. So I think I've touched upon that. That was thanks a lot for those wonderful questions. I can't see other questions out here. So if that's the case, let me go back to some of those models. Like I told in my speech about the models like Unilever, then Patagonia, I love Patagonia because it comes closer to activism. Then the Tata model in India, I will dwell upon that for the next maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Then I will.
Joseph, I want to step in over here and tell you that there are a couple of questions still more in the chat. And I would like your attention for those
Oh,
questions. You
oh,
can, like, there is a question by Dritiman. Can you give a good
sure.
example of how CSR strategy?
Oh, fantastic. Thank
Yeah.
you,
Oh,
Teresa. Thanks a lot. Please keep on, reminding me or nudging me, please. And thanks a lot for that. Because I'm not a tech savvy person. Huh? So, Dhridiman, Dashi, everyone please ask your, okay, no, Dhridi. Second one, if you wish to directly interact with me, please raise your hand. Okay, no, that's again a guidance there. Loy Rego, Loy, Naresh, Lakshmanji, Dhridiman. Okay, can you give a good example of how CSR strategy become a competitive advantage for the company itself in the market economy? Fantastic. Thank you. Initially, Dhridiman, it was just like, CSR, as I told, and that also aligns with my headline from kitchen chatter to boardroom matter. And your question is spot on there. Competitive advantage for the company. And initially, when it was CSR, that was voluntary, Jyotiman. It was voluntary, and that was run by whoever it is like that in the initial stages. It was not even called as a CSR; it was philanthropy or charity. What the CSR aspect came out there. There is a responsibility of the company to be giving back to the society. That's why the CSR come. These days, they also use the word ISR, that is the individual social responsibility. I'm just giving you a little bit of a background before answering your question out there. So they use the CSR aspect to be, in the world, there is another word known as the soft power. So it's just like a soft power, or in other words, I can call it is creating that kind of a goodwill. Just in inverted commas, we can call it as the goodwill creation. So that was what my favorite company in our country, and we should be proud about that. That is Tata's. So they have inbuilt into that entire the vision of and the purpose of the company right from 1897. That and and I'm going to talk about the Tata's model, Tridiman. Then it becomes much more clear out there. So it was only goodwill. Creation, and that goodwill itself was gaining more brand strength for Tata's. And there was a saying when I used to talk, I always used to quote a friend of mine. You always used to that. There was before CSR, before anything, there was a saying like that: "Kaam karne ko to Tata ka, jute pehne ka to Bata ka." So that was, I always used that. So just imagine, even the employees would love to be associated with Tata. The Tata product is becoming so closer to our heart, several kind of, whether it is an FMCG, whether it is auto, whether it is anything, because they're a conglomerate in everything. So that it has come from that kind of a goodwill internally through the welfare schemes and the good, how they take care of their employees, and also how responsible they are. Earlier, it was not compliance driven. That's the right one. They were not compliance driven. Okay, CSR was voluntary, but Tata has made it. Just when I'm talking about Tata, you will get an answer, because that itself will take me another 5 to 6 minutes about the entire modality of Tata's giving. How took it out there. So that is the goodwill. Let us stop there on the goodwill, but then I will talk more about that. And thanks for that prompt question out there. Fantastic. So I hope I have sort of helped you there, but I will give you more when I'm touching upon the Tata model, Dhridiman. It will become much more clearer out there. Thank you. Teresa, there is no more questions which I did not address, please. Okay. I don't think there is another one. So that gives me that opportunity how a company like Unilever has been a global leader in ESG. Unilever in the initial stages was not that kind of a very environmentally conscious company, but I must say that maybe this is my own personal opinion, but their acquisition of Ben and Jerry has really created some sort of a great internal study for them. Well, that's my own opinion. If any Unilever guys have seen that, please, so that is only my personal opinion. So talking about Unilever, well, today they are a global leader in environmental and social governance initiatives, and they embed sustainability into their business strategy. And if you ask me a summary of Unilever, their plan, which they started in 2010 to 2020, that's a 10-year, a decade plan on environment, and that is the environmental impact. They called it Sustainable Living Plan. So they launched this ambitious plan to decouple growth from environmental impact, and they focused on reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So that is also connecting to also on the water usage and waste across its value chain. So well, it was compliance was already there, but then they took it up. That's a plan, and they wanted to achieve 100% renewable energy for operation. So they were taken that as a core competency, or they have been sort of started the ownership of that. Then into sustainable sourcing, with 95% of its agricultural raw materials coming from certified sources. So it is also so important for the certification, like a lot of certification agency in the agricultural raw materials are there in the country. Almost some 18 certification agency, which is all authorized by the National Governmental Certification Agency, how we can register. One I know is IndoCert in Kerala, because I've been helping them out, and also most of them are registered with the government. And also the circular economy promotion using recycled and biodegradable materials in packaging. So it is, if you look at that sustainable living plan, though it's internally they're taking the ownership and the leadership for that, and it becomes a practice within the company, and through that they are also supporting the responsibility for the community life. Then on the climate and nature commitment, the Unilever committed net zero emissions by 2039, whereas the COP, the community of practice, is talking about a net zero emissions globally by 2070. Now, they've set up a target year of 2039. Well, it is happening or not, I do not know, but then they have shown that kind of initiative out there, which it's a herd mentality, which, if Unilever is doing, someone else will follow, and kind of things like that. So that's the kind of leadership with which Unilever is looking into. They're also investing in reforestation and regenerative agriculture. Reforestation also gives them a lot of carbon credits. So it's also business out there, because someone else also has got business. NGOs can also get in the space. I'm consulting another company known as Green Gauge Foundation, how they are doing that. That's good business for an NGO, and Unilever would be investing that through maybe another company. Elkins is another company which is very well known, and most of our carbon credit companies in India are stationed in Indore. Himadri Energy is another company. There are a lot of companies, almost some 17 companies are there in India in the carbon credit space, aiming for net zero stuff like that. So there are opportunities even for NGOs to take learn in the carbon credit space and take advantage and go forward. In the Unilever space, again, the plastic reduction through initiatives like they call it the less plastic, better plastic and no plastic strategy. Sort of an less, better, and no plastic. That's a kind of on the environmental space voluntarily and just to be meeting that complaints. But then this is a very good example for other companies to learn from. On the social impact side of the ESG, we have covered for Unilever, the social impact side. They just take care of the fair pay and human rights. So they ensures fair wages for over 60,000 of their direct employees or full-time executives, they call it, and influences fair pay in its extended supply chain. Then stronger gender diversity policies, achieving 50% of women in management roles. So that's a very worthy, way of Unilever respecting the inclusivity as well, the equity and the equality for women and women in management roles, just not in the junior levels, but it's in the management cadre itself. They give again a lot of health and well-being initiatives. The products which is now they are designing, they're taking the ESG directives and they're promoting healthier lifestyles, reducing sugar, salt and fat in food brands. Well, maybe I know, probably people will say that, is it a greenwashing? Maybe, or that is where NGOs or watchdogs also could be looked into, but at least they are talking about that, how much they are achieving. Well, that's a meal question. Meal means monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning, or a PDME. That is again, that is project. What's that? Project design, monitoring, and evaluation. So, well, that aspect I'm not covering, but then of course they are leading that. Then hygiene initiatives through brands like that's a great example of Unilever. Lifebuoy itself is Lifebuoy is there for health and hygiene, and they've been extremely successful through their launch project in Vietnam. It's coming to other places also, even in India it is there, and they're partnering with PSI, the Population Services International NGO, is their partner in Vietnam. So that way PSI gets a lot of benefit by running that project. So it's a win-win situation. Lifebuoy is sold in the market, PSI gets, and the hygiene aspects is being promoted very well. That's a very good success story from Vietnam. Since I have seen that, I'm just talking about Vietnam. It's possible. It's in other parts of the world where also PSI, the Population Services International, is their partner. Then equity and inclusion, they call the Unstereotype Initiative. They launched it, breaking stereotypes in advertising. So, well, that's just not, they are adhering to that because that could have been a war between they and P&G and stuff like that. Everyone knows that how the advertising wars been going on with directly referring the names of their competitors and things like that. So Unilever has taken a step back, and they're also globally, they actively supports the LGBTQ rights and racial equity programs and things like that. That's about the social impact in the ESG aspects of the Unilever. Then we talk about the governance aspect. That's basically the ethical business practices. Unilever definitely adheres to strong corporate governance principles, ensuring transparency and anti-corruption measures. But these are all Unilever statements, but then they got some awards here and there for that. I'm not supporting or promoting, but I'm just sharing my knowledge about this particular company. There would be differences also. So ESG, in Unilever, the targets are linked to, executive compensation, ensuring accountability at the leadership levels. So the earlier it was not like that. The ESG would be someone else's responsibility, which are in the teams out there. But now the executive ownership, the leadership ownership is now being practiced in Unilever. Then also on the governance area, it is the stakeholder engagements. They are encouraging and they work with a lot of NGOs and governments and suppliers to drive sustainable transformation. and publishes regular ESG reports to maintain transparency. So, the recognition, in fact, they are recognized by the Dow Jones in Sustainability Index as a global ESG leader. Their purpose-driven brands, which I told, Ben & Jerry, which they have acquired. Then they also call about the Dow brand, DOV, the soap, and consistently outperform traditional brands in revenue because they talk about in their advertisements also they told. But Ben & Jerry, I have a first-hand information, knowledge because I met Ben as well as Jerry when I was a student, and I could see them how they were committed to promoting environmental management, and each of their ice creams would also be named to contribute to a particular tree or a particular region, etc. out there. So that was good. They have made great strides, and also they are facing a lot of criticism in their palm oil sourcing industry, plastic waste and ethical concern. In certain markets, definitely, of course, the beginning is good, but the implementation aspects as well as the monitoring aspects might be, lagging in certain markets. But somewhere we need to be beginning. So it could be taken as a good example for learning and developing each company's holistic approach. So that's particularly about Unilever. And I just wanted to come back to India, and also I was associated with Tatas in certain projects and things like that. So from that knowledge, I would love to share some of those the approaches by Tata in terms of because they're legends in philanthropy and responsible business. They were also part of forming the CFBP, that is the Council for Fair Business Practices. So there are, these are all exemplary examples of Tata as a model and how they're getting into the ESG leadership. So, one second. So the Tata Group is one of the, as we all know, and we all take pride in that, most respected business conglomerate around the world. So it's it has got a deep-rooted commitment to philanthropy, social responsibility, and sustainable business practices. And maybe we can call Tata as a company with profits with purpose. Profits with purpose. They're driving it, and of course, that example should be sort of taken by by other companies, and that itself is a beautiful word, profits with purpose, and this company. And that model seamlessly, is committed to integrating corporate social responsibility, ESG, and social impact. And if you know that, I think I did not know about the I think I know about the percentages. Tata Trust is the owner of every Tata company. So they, the Tata Sons or the Tata Trust, which just formed in 1892, before even they started the steel plants, and in 1897 it started. For 1892, the Tata Trust. So maybe it was, they see that kind of a vision out there. Today, Tata Trust owns 66% of Tata Sons. So ensuring that the majority of profits goes for funding philanthropy rather than enriching shareholders. It's a great model because 66% the ownership, all the dividends goes to that investment in philanthropy. And their major areas are of course in education, the pioneers of Indian Institute of Science, the very coveted institute where everyone wanted to get into astrophysics and all this kind of, a lot of scientists have come out of that. In Mumbai, we have the TISS that is on the social sector, and the Tata Medical Center, the TIFR, you call it, they're everywhere. That is in the healthcare, the Tata Memorial Hospital, especially on the cancer. Today, the Tata Cancer Foundation has, in collaboration with lots of other hospitals, they've got 27 cancer centers across the country. And they are also looking out to support such kind of a cancer centers in other countries also. Then, salam to them, the livelihood programs for farmers and tribal welfares and women empower project, poverty alleviation, you call it, their entire rural development, between the two trusts, the Dorabji Tata Trust and the Ratan Tata Trust. Not this present Ratan Tata, there was an earlier Ratan Tata out there. So then, come today, the ESG, the leadership and responsible business commitment of Tata's is just like the net zero commitment, whether it is Tata Steel or Tata Power or Tata Motors, they got ambitious decarbonization goals. Even while the Tata Motors are doing subcontracted work for, say, Dalmir, the Benz, what is the Benz? Yeah, the Benz, the Dalmir Benz, or other companies, so their commitment of the decarbonization goals are very high. Tata Power, yeah, it's India's largest renewable energy producer, and they are committed to launching with this first solar powered village in Gujarat. In Google, and you can find out about that. Tata Steel is more into circular economy models, recycles 97%. 97% of its solid waste is being recycled. Then they're talking about green steel initiatives, investing in hydrogen-based steel making to cut emissions and stuff like that. Coming to the social impact, the S of the ESG, they are pioneers from 1900s onwards. From Tata introduced the 8-hour workday. Well, it's now controversy with Murthy and L&T chairman, etc. Forget about that. They are the one who introduced the 8-hour workdays with maternity benefits and provident funds. Before it was been mandated by the country or mandated by law. So that's the beauty of that company. Then education and skilling. Tata Strive is one project which they call, they have trained 1 million plus youth in vocation skills. Probably they would be the best, maybe they are already the best consultants to the National Skill Development Corporation. And then there is TCS Ignite program, which is focusing more on STEM education program for marginalized communities. And they also have got Tata Karta initiative, Tata Dan initiative, which is on livelihood and leadership development in the rural area. So if I wanted to tell you about that, how well other NGOs can be part of that, if you got a good model, I think there's this, who asked me that question? One second. Asmita. Thank you, Asmita, for that question. So Tata Dan is DHAN. That's an organization based in Madurai. So they came out with this how to be focusing more into livelihood development for the women in Madurai region. It is across Tamil Nadu, and they came out with this innovative idea, and Tata sponsored that. And it was a naming right also they got. It was known as Tata Dan. Actually, don't you feel that, having a Tata name attached to an NGO like Dan, it just, the kind of the growth prospects out there, it's a catapult kind of a, so that's so brilliant. So that's a livelihood development. It's a social enterprise model. And Dan, if you do not know about Dan is the split away group of Pradhan. Pradhan once upon a time was started by IIT engineers and IIM graduates way back in the mid 70s, who came into Viron. That time they were that kind of an activist, kind of an organization who wanted to really make that strategic engagement and impact in the rural development and welfare and livelihood development and enterprise. I must say that the credit must go to such kind of a extremely passionate IIT IIM guys who started Pradhan. And Dan, because of administrative reasons, I believe they split into Pradhan for North India and Dan for South India. So I'm a great advocate and fan of such kind of initiatives. I think, Asmita, I sort of answered how well, if you got a fantastic project, how well to take help from people in the banking sector, in the management sector, in the business sector, who can help you in terms of developing that social business or a business model or whatever, or an enterprise model. That is what matters when you go to companies like Tata, and your presentation matters, because if you're really talking about the return on investment as well as the profitability, which Mr. Lakshman Kumar recommended there. So all these things comes out there. So Tata Dhan is an example which I can tell you, Asmita. But let there be so many such initiatives through you or your friends network out there. Look again on the diversity and inclusion by the Tatas. That is the 30% women representation in leadership roles across their companies. And also, naturally, with other companies, the LGBTQ plus inclusion and other aspects is also being equal opportunity hiring is also embedded into the Tata, the social impact aspect. Coming to the governance and ethical, the G of the ESG. Of course, the corporate integrity, about Tata Sons, maintains a zero tolerance policy on corruption and promotes transparent corporate governance, which is very visible, whether in various aspects on the corruption side, or even taking care of the Ratan Tata had the muscle to tell soon after the Pakistan attack on our country, in where the Tata hotels were also affected, when Pakistan ordered 10,000 cars of Tata Indigo car. He told, no, I don't have, I would not be able to give you that car because, it was that kind of a national pride out there. Then in terms of the compensation to their leadership, the Tata leadership compensation under the ESG is tied to social and environmental KPIs, key performance indicators, ensuring accountability. So accountability is one big aspect in that country, in that company. So touching upon their shared value and social enterprise model, there is also, I know you guys would be knowing, but then Amul and Tata has collaborated very high, because Amul is an exemplary model of a social enterprise coming into a company. Tata is another business conglomerate committed to social impact, and Amul and Tata has built that collaboration in terms of strengthening India's dairy and agri supply chain. Then Tata Swatch, low-cost water purifier addressing India's rural water crisis. So it's also some of this Tata, not only Tata, there are other companies also working with NGOs. I was with Habitat, and Habitat has started that water wheel project. I think Naresh, who is already in the team out here, he knows about that. I think he was leading that kind of a collaboration out there. That was with Neil Kamal. And that has become a very beautiful way of engaging and reducing the burden of the women to carry miles and miles of water out there. So, some examples out there, some touch points out there, like Tata Swatch is getting in that low-cost water purifier. So that's why I did the water wheel, which has got some great eyeballs from the UN system also, that the Habitat's water wheels. Then the Tata's one is the Jagriti Yatra, that is an entrepreneurship program they support and nurture a lot of rural startups. That's again answering to you, Asmita. Maybe I'm only giving one company's name out here, but then it requires in terms of doing the right research, doing the right contact, and going forward, or finding other people who are in the sector, approaching them and identifying how to find answers to your question and take action on that. So, I mean, if you look at the key lessons from the Tata model, it is philanthropy is considered to be the core business value. Look at Tata Trust control the conglomerate, ensuring that wealth benefits society. The best example, sorry about to say that, Cyrus Mistry, the biggest difference between Ratan Tata and Cyrus Mistry was Cyrus Mistry wanted to get involved into a new kind of a business model being developed and going away from the philanthropy as the core business value to be sort of non-aligned. So that was the kind of a difference between those two giants, Tata and Cyrus. Then ESG is used as a competitive advantage strategy out there. So sustainable, innovation drives business success. So ESG complaints of that and 100% complaints to that itself is a good strategy. They call it as a competitive advantage. And they definitely always, Tata's never goes for the short-term profits, but they do have a long-term vision with ethical leadership, which is committed and creating brand trust and resilience. So I think I'll stop there. In terms of talking about Tata Mahindra's model, this could be considered a blueprint for business that seek to balance profit with purpose. The best word I can give from that example is profit with a purpose. And it proves that sustainability and corporate governance and social impact can drive business growth while uplifting millions. And while the tri-sector approach, the quad approach, everything is going and being, inspired or initiated in the social sector, Tata is one company which we can always look up to, and also learn from the Tata Trust leaders out there in terms of developing that. It's 12 o'clock, and before I get into my next topic, which is more in terms of fundraising, or I wanted to touch Patagonia, but I don't think we have time on that. I wanted to spend some time on fundraising also, on the CSR ESG-driven fundraising. But before that, we will have a small break here to take questions out here. And if there are questions, you can prompt me, or I am also looking out here. Before that, Asmita, did I answer your questions, Asmita? You can type it. Then Loy, Lakshman, Kumar, Dhriti, Naresh. Thanks, Joseph. Tata is a great example. Naresh, again. Thank you, Naresh. At Dhriti. Oh, Procter & Gamble. Okay, thank you, Naresh. Procter & Gamble's project Shiksha. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for talking about that. It's a brilliant project launched in 2005. It's a great example of CSR actually in increasing the bottom line of a company, launched in with a very effective ad campaign. It used a cost-related marketing campaign wherein rupees won from. Fantastic. Thanks a lot for sharing that, Naresh. Then again, from every product sold was used for building schools and enhancing education. Over the years, it has resulted in an astounding number of schools built. That was Project Shakti. Yeah, that's right. But it also resulted in massive brand awareness and brilliant. Thank you. Asmita says thank you. I presume that was, I was trying to answer your question. Thank you again to you. Loy, great positive examples. We must spread the word. Thank you. Loy again there. Dhridiman. Okay, that's a question. Given stringent FCRA regulations in India, could increase the reliance on CSR from indigenous companies, strengthen civil society's role in holding brilliant government corporations accountable, or would it risk corporate influence diluting grassroots advocacy? Okay, one question at a time. It's a brilliant comment, Dhridiman. Thanks a lot. Actually, the government itself deliberately is wanted to reduce the FCRA aid to this country. We have become that particular movement has in fact started at the time of Narasimha Rao ji. Because what is happening was every northern country, barring certain countries, were just giving a couple of $1,000,000. For a government of our scale, a couple of $1,000,000 at that time was 300 million to 400 million dollars being given as aid money. And of course, that $400 million, they will go there and sit with our IAS officer and take $500 million worth of time. You understand? So that's why we said that, smaller countries like, the Scandinavian countries, the Netherlands, so the amount of money coming into this country was very less, and the time spent by our IAS officers to be learning about that and designing projects and distributing that for NGOs as well as for the governmental supported quasi NGOs was very time consuming. That's why Narasimha Rao at the time it initiated, but it was in Vajpayee's time we told most of those countries who have been giving that money to get out of this country. I'm sorry for that word. They said that we don't want your money unless and until it is adding more value to our country. And for geopolitical reasons, we kept USA, we need to be UK, Germany, Japan, and one more country. I think it is Australia. Yeah, that could be the Quad reason also. Quad means the other Quad. So anyway, so that is how it has happened. And now your question. So we don't need and also FCRA was also in certain cases used as a channel to get money for terrorist funding and other aspects of it. So that was, I personally feel it was a good move for our country, which is an emerging country. Now come with the CSR out there, see the opportunity. If what I've read or the $10 billion outlay in the country, that's a good thing where our own corporations or NGOs can even think from the social impact, enterprise, social business model along with the corporations and come out with a more we can create that kind of an optics, more and more optics to be created, and more professional people should also be coming through the kind of a Tata approach out there. And most of these NGOs should also be thinking from the perspective of how well we can run our business, the business of doing good. So that's so important. And the non-availability of the FCRA fund itself is good because there is the necessity. What is that? I forgot the word. If necessity, if you don't have something, it necessitates, you find out something. I forgot the word, forgot the sentence out there. If someone can help me on that, it's fine. So that's the demand. So it's a great opportunity for us if the FCRA, getting an FCRA is considered to be, oh my God, but we are looking always outside. So once we have the CSR money in this country to the tune of minimum $5 billion. So let's see that, how well we would be engaging. And it's also, there is a role for the NGOs out there to approach the corporations and making it beyond greenwash, beyond whitewashing or things like that. So that is, I would love to give you that answer. And again, from your side, can it further increase the risk of greenwashing? Yeah, this tri-sector or the quad kind of an approach, the quad means not the fake news. The media engaging as the watchdog out there, or even there has to be watchdog. There are other watchdogs, not the Credibility Alliance and things like that, but that's also an NGO. But then the watchdog means the common man has to be having that watchdog kind of an approach out there. Definitely that greenwashing could be reduced out there, Dhridiman. Thank you. I hope I have answered you. Then Asmita says yes. Thank you, Asmita. Thank you. Thank you to you. Naresh, plus all the arm twisting that accompanied by it. Thank you. Thank you, Naresh, for that. Necessity is the mother of invention. Yes, thanks a lot. I did not get that. So the necessity is the mother of innovation and innovation. So we are, as Indians, we are so beautifully jugaad. So this also, with that kind of a passionate approach out there, with the support of the watchdog, which could be the media or even a credibility alliance kind of a watchdog, that would be really brilliant. So that also answers some of this. And Dhridiman says, thanks, Joseph. You are most welcome, Dhridiman. And I think I've sort of covered most of the questions as well as the chat out there, and whatever I could in whatever within my knowledge I could answer out there. Now we are 12:08. Yeah, we have some more time, and that is my last. Before, if you don't have any questions, I will get into my last session in terms of the fundraising opportunities and chances with this tri-sector or the quad kind of an approach out there. I would say that. So I'll just give you maybe another 10 seconds based on all the past topics which I've covered. If there are any questions, I would be very happy. You can type, and I need at least 10 seconds because I need to breathe for a while and have some water. Thank you. So the 10 seconds is over. Session, Joseph. Thanks a lot, Naresh, for your compliment. And okay, so now we have 20 minutes precisely. So I'm just looking into from all the historical aspects and everything. We have given the overview of it. Like now it's action time because without money, nothing won't happen. So money is so critical. So from all these kind of learnings, the fundraising opportunities for NGOs and NPOs from the Tata model or the ESG driven market, I must call the ESG driven business approaches, the CSR. Now CSR has become a subset of the ESG. The ESG has gone into the boardroom. So that is what is the main point out here. So it's just not that ESG, some Tom, Dick and Carrie has come out there, and it is not the CEO's wife who is driving. It is not anymore the one who is not performing. You be driven into the charity welfare corner. Earlier time in the 70s and 80s, if I'm not performing very well, Joseph Scaria, fire him also or put him into welfare. Put him into charity. Let him do the charity work. So all those things, that area is gone. Now the ESG and the CSR has become a boardroom matter. So that means the companies are actually looking out for, like if you really look, a company like IBM or a company like say Microsoft or a company like let's say Apple, they are all looking forward to have an NGO like World Vision or a Habitat for Humanity or a UN UNICEF or a UNHCR. Why? Because they can work together, the reach is easy, the decisions are made in one place, the alignments are made, the operational aspects are become, and the goodwill is created tremendously across the world. So that needs a board meeting. So that's how it is emerging very well. Now within that also we will also get some of those losses, crumbs, or the splinter money or the spin-offs of that. There are other NGOs also getting, but there are also opportunities. NGOs, like the Dan I said, the Dan Foundation, Tata Dan, so who's come out with a fantastic idea about how well that particular idea will be a game changer or a name changer or a goodwill ambassador brand strength out there. Then anyone stands a chance with a conglomerate or with a medium level company or an MSME or things like that. So now it's becoming professional. It is just not going and asking the CEO's wife is giving. That's the main point which I want to drive out here. Take a charity, they do. Right? That is not the way. So it is coming out here the Tata model or the Patagonia or the ESG driven CSR model. So the number one is on the corporate philanthropy and trust based giving. So we need to be leveraging on the corporate foundations and the business trusts out there. They're looking out for opportunities. Like the Tatas, I said, 66% of their profit is, for philanthropy fund. And it serves as a long-term funding source for education, healthcare, and rural development. And if you see that it is not all for the NGOs, well, you should understand that it goes to the Tata's institutions itself first. And that's exactly what Asim Premji, when I told you about the giving pledge across the world, started by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Warren Buffett, supported by that. They're going around and they're creating that kind of a prompting and inspiring corporations across or business leaders across the world, whether at your time or whether after your death. It could be a legacy giving out there. You pledge what you wanted to give for the global development, where you can also specify these are the kind of areas out there. That is where Asim Premji was the first person who signed to the giving pledge from India with his $1 billion commitment. Well, then we will ask, oh, is that $1 billion available? No, he started Asim Premji University. And, a lot of institutions which also comes under the Asim Premji Foundation. Tatas are also doing the same thing, but within that 66% money available out there, probably around 60 to 70% of the money would be going for the perennial cash flow for the Indian Institute of Science or TISS or Tata Memorial Hospital and their engagement. And today, as I told you about the Tata Memorial Hospitals, 26 Tata cancer hospitals are coming in this country. 15 to 17 are already existing. That is all in association with the state governments and the private investors or NGOs in certain countries. 18 states are benefiting out of that. And they wanted to make, especially in the northeastern belt, they are doing it very well. So that's about, we have to see that, whether it is in healthcare, education, women development, livelihood, social business, or anything like that. And NGOs can definitely apply for grants to Tata Trust, or as I told you about Wipro Foundation or the Asim Premji Foundation or Infosys Foundation, for education, rural development, or climate action, anything. But it all requires definitely your research. And that research in today's world, you also have to be thinking professionally. I mean, if you're a small organization, you can have a Microsoft Excel driven database created. But if you're an organization growing and if you wanted to bring in that kind of a, which is another topic for fundraising, but then I'm saying that you could use a Salesforce CRM. That is, CRM is customer relations management tool, or a Race Sage. And there are a lot of affordable as well as a little expensive one also. You need to be looking into that. And basically, when you go to the CSR and the ESG places, see that not how will I get the money, but then what value addition you can do by your association to Tata and their mission and their vision. That is where they will listen. Just sending a proposal to them and giving me the money, but what value addition for the thematic and the vision and the mission or the objectives of that organization, that is the way to, identify corporations with strong philanthropic arms and align with their own teams. I'm repeating, we need to be aligning with their teams. Just by sending a mail over email or calling, and nothing won't work because you need to do that extensive research. And also, beauty is that you should not ask for a 1-year partnership. You definitely should be asking for a multi-year partnership, whether it's a minimum 3-year or a 5-year, even 10-year kind of a thing, showing the impact. So that shows that you need to be investing your time and talent for developing a business model. It is just not a charity money being asked out. That's about the general philanthropy money. Then it comes to the ESG linked CSR and the impact investment funding. So, we should be tapping into that CSR funding and ESG compliance companies. The 2% CSR law mandates in India. So you need to be learning more about, go to the website of Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, where every companies are supposed to be giving that kind of a report, things like that. And can you hear me? Drijiman? Okay. Because for a moment, the electricity had gone in my hotel room. So can you type, can you hear me, please? Lakshman, can you hear me?
Joseph, you're audible.
Oh, thank you.
You can continue. There is no problem at all.
Okay, okay. So there was sometimes the energy went in my room. Thank you. Okay, so in terms of, they always call in the fundraising strategy, it has to be SMART. SMART, it's just like a very common acronym, like, SMART stands for specific, measurable, or you can call in right now, maybe the specific can be, reaped by scalable, okay, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timeline, or the impact driven. So that's so important. And then emphasize on the impact metrics and sustainability. That is where the role of the meal comes. Or earlier it was known as PDME, project design, monitoring, evaluation. Now they call it meal, monitoring, evaluation, accountability, learning. And so that's where these are the kind of things which NGOs can bring in out there. And position as a CSR implementation partner. Just imagine through your work, probably who knows that, it is just like in the government, they call it, detailed project, DTPR or something, detailed project report. Like, you can also get yourself empaneled with certain corporations and you can become their regular partners, or even you can become, the NGOs can become the regular, implementer of the objective of the corporation. These are all jugaad or innovation, out of the box kind of a thinking, all within the legal compliances and the ESG. Like, Tata runs his solar villages. So NGOs could propose rural energy programs aligned with their clean energy goals. So for Tata, it's a SOP project model. Or Patagonia, which I did not cover today, but you can Google and find out about that company. Apparel is their tool in terms of promoting awareness about climate. So they got a climate fund also, where NGOs can apply for grants on conservation, carbon reduction, then adding to sustainable farming, etc., etc. Then coming to the modern world is, I've touched upon initially on the social enterprise partnerships and revenue-based grants. So, we can collaborate on sustainable business models. So NGOs can co-develop solutions. Again, I'm going to that question of Asmita, I believe. Co-develop solutions. It's where everywhere out of the box thinking and your knowledge, base need to be so good in terms of researching, learning, designing, dreaming, and designing in terms of developing those kind of projects out there. Sustainable revenue models are. So when we are also thinking, there is something known as the corporations will also look forward on the capacity of the organization. If you ask for 10 crores, they will definitely look into the readiness and the capacity, whether this organization can really take care of the 10 crores and the implementation of that. The best example, from my life is that, we applied for a fund to none other than KfW, that is the German Development Bank. That was $125 million. And they assessed the Habitat for Humanity, and they could not do that. Whom did they choose? They choose HDFC for several reasons, because it's a big company. They got a social development driven approach out there. And that is also, they can stand for any kind of a collateral. Their money is safe out there. And not because it won't be safe in Habitat, because Habitat did not really handle in one shot that $125 million in a country like India. So that's like, it is nothing to do with the NGO, but the readiness or the capacity is also important. When you're asking, you should look at your annual report and saying that what is your present turnover budget. So if it is only 5 crores and if you're asking 10 crore, that raises a lot of questions. That is where we need to be employing other people who are in the business sector, okay, this is done by XYZ person who has been in the business of financial management and blah, blah, blah. So all those kind of things who is supporting this particular project. So you got to be, that's why the fundraising strategy, how you should be looking into. Then, yeah, I mean, social impact enterprises like Grameen Bank, I told you about that, Amul Cooperatives, Fab India, it's artisan support they give. That is another example. Fab India becomes so famous because the former World Bank, chief who came across with, and then he has invested out there with all these kind of a social, impact approaches, which Fab India is inbuilt into their DNA already. Then the last one is on the present day, the climate and sustainability grants from ESG initiatives. We definitely can. The last but one, I have one more. The access climate and climate action and circular economy funding, whether it is Indian companies or a lot of other foreign companies, you should be researching on that. And people stand up for net zero strategies. Even if your NGO is into certain other things, but tree plantation could be taken up as an enterprise out there, which, because today there's a lot of money coming into the carbon credit market. So you should be looking into such initiatives out there. Then, of course, I told you the quad approach, the role of the media and awareness partnerships out there. So companies are investing in ESG as well as CSR. Also look forward to your organization to promote their association with you. So that is where the media, how well you could also make use of the media in terms of promoting the company's support to you, as well as your well, there are a lot of other things about employee engagement, payroll giving, then international fundraising, which are all, I'm not going to cover too much on that. Today's, I will just limit it to CSR, ESG, then also, digital giving. Well, these are all in the fundraising arena. So I would not touch up onto that. Again, multilateral, bilateral, along with UN agencies or Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Shell Foundation, a lot of things like now. Today, that is not the topic today, but I just wanted to give you overall holistic view about how well from the CEO's wife or the kitchen chatter. Now it has emerged into the boardroom. So it has become so professional with the engagement of so highly professional people out there, and how we should also be becoming or professionalizing ourselves to align with the corporate ESG and CSR priorities, and design our pitch for long-term strategies, and leverage mechanisms of storytelling and media sponsorship. I'm repeating that. And also coupling with global organizations, and say that leveraging that. That's I've got a funding from UNDP or UN system or Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now, hey, I'm coming with this money to a corporations, and say that, okay, so that means that corporation is very happy that you are bringing money to the table, though the money is someone else's money, and that is accepted very well. No NGOs has got their own money, so that leveraging aspects of there. That is how once you know the entire ecosystem of development itself, then raising funds will become also has to be well thought out, done professionally. Then it becomes easy, and people will listen to you, and you would be accepted into their boardrooms or their decision making negotiation rooms out there. I think that's the end of my presentation, and I hope I've contributed or sort of given some thoughts, some ideas to you guys, and it was good interacting with you all. And if you have any questions, we have got around 3 to 4 more minutes. We can ask that, and I can spend that time. Otherwise, I would give back the mic to Trisha and Ridhiman. Thank you all. Thanks, Naresh. So, Dridhiman and Trisha?
I go on stream.
Okay, I think there are some questions. Oh, no, it's not questions. It's something else. Okay,
I think
back to you,
there's one last question by Lakshman, I think.
Haji. Okay, 1 second. Is it in live chat or Q&A?
General chat.
Okay, general. Lakshmanji, 1 second. Any thoughts on creating specific funds for specific end users? That's an innovative aspects of a question, because there are several funds like Acumen Fund, Synergy Use Fund, Squaf Fund. All these funds come for with 2 or 3 thematic approaches, Mr. Lakshman. But we definitely can also create specific funds for specific end users, or a specific approach, or what we call to address a specific issue. Yes, that's possible.
Joseph, so should we move towards the closing of this session now?
I am fine with that. If there's no more questions, I don't think, and also we have reached our time. Or back
Yeah.
to you, Dridhiman.
Yeah. So I hope the audience is able to hear me. So I take this opportunity to thank Mr. Joseph Scaria for, enriching this session, being with us, and sharing such a rich, informative, engaging session on corporate fundraising. And you've spoken about the evolution of CSR, right from how it started as an how it started in an altruistic manner, and moved on to creating shared value right now. And you've also discussed contemporary strategies, current focus areas, challenges, and opportunities. You've also shared very interesting case studies, and also gave us an idea about how these things are getting monitored with newer inclusion of newer frameworks like Neil. And of course, there was a lot of rich insights in terms of the way forward, of how this is moving, which are the areas that need to be focused. And you've also mentioned what are the new things that are getting included in CSR strategies nowadays. So I think that is a very comprehensive and informative session. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank you on behalf of the entire Rise Peco World team, and wish you all the best, sir.
Thank you, all of you, for being here and asking and encouraging me with questions, and an opportunity to give you my limited knowledge. Thank you, one, and thanks a lot, Dridhiman and Trisha, for helping me out to organize and conduct this session. And last but not the least, an excellent platform, Rice Peco. Please continue. This is the beauty of this session. Is you can sit in your own bedroom or living room and address the world. Thank you. And you reduce the carbon footprints across the world also.
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you. Thank you for reminding us that. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.